Thanks for listening to the AZ Wildcats podcast. You know it's a big one when the boss, the lead dog, the man who makes everything work at PHNX Sports, the great Saul Bookman leads us off. Hello, Saul Bookman.
How's it going, Mike? How are we doing today?
Well, a little bit better than yesterday. I mean, it's kind of you hit the nail on the head yesterday when you're like, I feel like my girlfriend just broke up with me. It was just crushing. Just what was going through Saul's mind?
When I woke up yesterday, I just didn't have a good feeling, and that was based on nothing. Like, I just felt like yesterday we were going to get some answers as to whether or not Jedd Fisch was going to be in the running for the Washington job, and it just felt uneasy. And it's funny because I'm in some Kansas State Wildcats chats as well, because I went to Kansas State, so I follow them, and they were all just excited because they thought Leipold was going to get the job. At UW, and so they're like, "Oh, Kansas is back to being trash!" Ha 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 ha. And they all consider us the number one team in the Big 12 heading into next year. Every single Big 12 person I've talked to so far, even Jalen Conyers, who just transferred to Texas Tech, gave me a call yesterday after everything was said and done. He was like, "Bro, you guys are going to be like the best team in the Big 12 next year." And I was just like, "Yeah, I mean, we were. I don't know what's going to happen now." So it's Mike, I don't think in the entire time I've been a U of A fan have I felt this amount of emotion. Like, I don't even know if I would quantify it as anger. I think it's more just sad. You know what I mean? Like, sad because if you felt like, even during the Rich Rod years, it still never felt like it was sustainable.
Yeah.
And we get to this point where we bring in Jedd Fisch and you don't know what to expect. And he starts bringing in some legit high caliber NFL level players, and you can see the path forward and you get excited. And then this year happens and you're like, "Oh my God, are we going to be like one of the top teams in the country from now on? Like, this is amazing." And then it all just goes away in terms of Fisch leaving. Now the players haven't left yet. But I would expect a lot of them to, I mean,
and, honestly, this is also too, and we'll be joined a little bit by Sheeran Jamino. This is also too why I'm totally cool with the transfer portal. Because if a coach can do this, I believe that players should be able to do it. I know that that's probably not advantageous for us, and it's definitely changed what it is. But Saul, if guys sign up for a coach and they can leave whenever, and they're telling players right up to the last second, "I'm going to be here," to quote your shirt, loyalty goes both ways.
Yeah, it does. It does. Guys, I mean, I think we all are nostalgic about U of A. We all have a relationship with it. We're all invested. We're all loyal to the brand. But, players, if they didn't grow up as a U of A fan, there's nothing there for them. They come here to a school, and right now schools are just viewed as entities. They're, the tradition and nostalgia behind the reason why a lot of us love U of A is not, it's just not born with them. And so, it's hard to tell a kid not to turn down, $1 million in possible NIL money somewhere else to stay here and not really know what's going to happen. Like, that's a hard sell for whoever's going to be the coach.
And I think what's really hard too is for these players is the players were not told anything. Obviously, the administration was not told anything. And for somebody like a Noah or a T-Mac, you turned down a lot of money to possibly go elsewhere because you kind of built into what the full family environment, everything that, that Arizona was selling. And that now that's just kind of, I don't know. Like I said, it just to me was different when you had so many high caliber players. I was prepared to lose Jedd Fisch after next year. I figured, let's get this second run in. And then from here on out, but getting that first year, not getting to that second year, that's the one that really hurts. Like I said, I was prepared to lose him next year. Yeah. This year was not the year that I was looking for, especially like you said, you've got a loaded roster. Like Jalen Conyers said, we figured that you guys were going to be the best team in the conference, and on paper they were.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know, man. There was a question just there. It said, is it possible to even keep a coach for longer than, 3 or 4 years? It's going to be almost impossible nowadays, unless you're at one of the big time programs, Bama or Georgia or whatever, right? Hell, even what's his name? Slapnuts over there in LSU, Brian Kelly.
Brian Kelly.
He's even being rumored if Harbaugh leaves Michigan to possibly get the Michigan job. And you would think that LSU is a pretty high profile job, and you can't get much higher than that. Right. They've won national championships. They've proven that they can be one of the best in the SEC. So there's just no loyalty whatsoever across the gamut. So I'm just really disappointed for the players. I'm also very disappointed. Like, I'm cool with Fisch taking the job. Listen, it's hard to turn down twice as much as you're making right now, especially when you have to talk to your family, your wife, and you lay out all the logistics. It makes sense to go to Washington.
Right.
I'm not knocking him for that whatsoever. What I'm knocking him for is the way he really did go about it, especially in this last week, and especially yesterday. Like, I get it. You're excited to go to Washington. That's cool. But you also have to understand and have a good temperature take on the emotion of this fan base and how much they were invested into what you were doing, how excited they were for what you were bringing to the table. They bought into you finally after a couple years. And then you turn around and it really felt like that he just stabbed everybody in the back. And the video and the changing of the profile and like, bro, you couldn't wait one day. Like this morning, if that happened, I'm cool. Like, I get it.
Right.
It's fine. But literally like 15 minutes after he meets with the team, that shit's all changed.
And here's also where it really bothers me as well. Arizona, it's not like Jedd Fisch was turning down suitors left and right before he came to Arizona. Robbins and Hickey took a chance on Jedd Fisch. He was not a head coach. He was not getting interviews. I think in this stage in the game, you at least owe it to more so than just showing up to a meeting and saying, well, guys, I'm going to Washington, peace out, and then putting the video out there as well. That to me was just, Jedd Fisch understands optics. Jedd Fisch, that's one thing about Jedd. He understands the Twitter game in a way that most coaches don't. He understands messaging. He knew what he was doing there. This wasn't like Kevin O'Neill going on there and putting something that he doesn't know how it's going to be, perceived. Jedd knew what he was doing, and I think that's really what bothered so many people, Saul.
Yeah, 1,000,000%. I can't even imagine. I know everybody in Washington's really excited because they think that Fisch is going to bring T-Mac and Noah. I'm sorry, man. If I'm Noah and T-Mac, unless I got a heads up, a week ago or a couple days ago, like, hey guys, I just want to let you know I'm starting to get this talk from Washington. They were interested in whatever. Like, he kind of laid it out for them. Unless that happened, if I'm Noah and T-Mac, even if I don't stay at U of A, I damn sure am not going to Washington. Right. There's other programs that are
I can go anywhere I want.
Yeah, for sure. And also, why would you want to go to Washington right now if they're going to lose half their roster because of graduation and all those players that are going to the NFL? Like, why would you want to go there right now? You're in rebuild mode all over again. If you're T-Mac and you're going to leave U of A with 18 of 22 restarters coming, if you're going to leave U of A, you want to go to a place where you're going to be high caliber, high visibility, and you're going to make some pretty decent NIL money, like the top dogs in the country.
Right.
He could go to any school he wants to right now. There's not a single program in the country that would turn him away. Same thing with Noah for the most part. There might be a couple schools that are like, no, we're set at quarterback, but you could pretty much name your own price. I just don't see them going to Washington. I hope if anything comes out of this and we do lose those two guys, I hope it's not to Washington. I will be able to swallow that much, much better.
And that's the thing, too. I'm going to root for – what's also bummed, too, is just this was an awesome group of parents that this squad had. I mean, just on Twitter, they're active. I mean, you've been in the game a long time. I've been in the game a long time. I'm used to getting DMs in the past from parents that are saying, why the heck isn't my kid playing, this and that. I got next to none of that the last 2 years. Even, again, I'm not going to put it out there, but, Les Fafita and I developed a pretty good friendship. And he never once said, why isn't my kid playing? None of that. It was always, we trust in God, know his time will come if it's meant to come. And that is just so rare in this day and age, Saul, to find parents that just kind of got it. They were just trusting the process. And I think, just to have the carpet just pulled out from under them, that's what's really heartbreaking, I think, in this, because again, they did it the right way. And yeah. It's like I said, I feel terrible for the players as well. I mean, when I was down there and I called you, it was somber. It wasn't like, it was different. Like somebody asked me, how does this compare to like when the FBI situation hit? That was more just like, whoa, like,
yeah,
like,
was,
you know what I'm saying?
It was fearful because you're like, holy shit, it's the FBI. Like,
yeah.
This is not lightweight stuff. What does that mean? And there was a lot of confusion, right? We didn't know what this was all going to mean, how it was all going to break down. With this yesterday, it was emotional. Yes. Like for the players, I just know the players were emotional. They were probably upset. A lot of them took to Instagram and Twitter last night, and they kind of voiced their frustration. They started pining for what coach should be in here. Like, I get it. I totally get it, because a lot of the fan base feels the same way, you know? And I don't blame them not 1 second. I think the biggest thing for right now, if we look towards the future, though, Dave Hickey and Robbins have got to move as fast as possible, because the longer they wait, the more susceptible all the kids are in the program to find that transfer portal, get another deal, and be out. Like, you got to move as fast as ever. You can't wait a whole month like you did last time in trying to find Jedd Fisch to find that coach.
Yeah, Anthony made it. It was a rare good point that our good friend Anthony Gimino makes. Actually, Anthony makes all good points. But he said that you know, you've got to have this decision made in the next 48 to 72 hours. This is a lot different, Saul. Like you talked about, with the way the portal is now, with the way the kids can bounce. And listen, everybody knows nobody's a bigger fan of Dave Hickey than myself, but I'll say this. Every good athletic director has got their job is to have a list of guys that if something's to hit the fan, these are 3 or 4 of my people. This can't, we're not in the day and age. We're not in the 60s or something where this could catch you off guard and you didn't expect it. You've got to have that contingency plan in place. And that contingency plan has to be executed. And that's got to be executed, in my opinion, within 48 to 72 hours. Look how Washington moved. Look how Alabama moved. All of these schools moved with a quickness that you've just got to do in this day and age. It's got to be there, Saul.
1,000,000%. I know you're going to get to it in a little bit with Sheer and Gimino, but I will say this. If you're looking to retain as much as possible right now, and you want to win right now, you're just focused on this next year, maybe the next 2 or 3 years, then I would say, yeah, you would go after Nansen. Mm-hmm. Okay. That would be the surefire way to try and keep and retain as many guys as possible.
Right.
It's a hard sell though, because Nansen literally just left. Mm-hmm. And now he might come back, and that's also a little odd. Right. If you're looking for long-term success, and I think something you're looking for a young guy to come in here and kind of renovate everything, or kind of give a refresh, and hopefully their messaging is able to retain a lot of the players. But I just want the best coach, honestly. Yeah. I want the best coach. I want to be able to sustain, a modicum of success.
Right.
Let us at least make a bowl game next year and stuff. Like I said, it's just really depressing, man.
It's just depressing, but I got to give a shout out to the U of A fans, man. Saul, this, living it. There's no better fan base in the entire country than U of A fans. The passion, just everything that's in there. And I tell this to people all the time that are like, somebody tweeted at me and he's like, "Oh, I'm going to get rid of my season tickets now." Listen, if you were a fan of Arizona, nobody became a fan of Arizona football because of Jedd Fisch. You were here before Jedd Fisch. You're going to be here after Jedd Fisch. I think people got to remember that, and that's something that when it comes to circling the wagons, that's got to be something that you can keep in mind.
I don't fault anybody for saying those kind of things yesterday. It's emotional. They're emotion. Yeah. Once everything the dust settles and everything kind of calms down, I'm sure a lot of those people would be like, all right, yeah, I'm still going to buy my season tickets, like, because you want to support the program and you don't want everything to crumble. So I get it. It's emotional. Right. And like I said, I think this was the most emotional coach firing situation I've ever been a part of.
Right.
That I can remember feeling like just, confusion and depression and kind of sad about what's happening with your favorite team in school. And so I know these kids are kind of going through this, and hopefully they're able to get some solid advice. And more than anything, I really hope that these kids just take a beat, take a couple days, let this all kind of play out before you make any decisions. You can go ahead and listen to the other schools. That's fine. Right. I don't care about that. You want to see what your options are. But, man, I really hope whoever stays is able to convince – really, to me, if you keep T-Mac in Fafita right off the bat, and those guys are like, we're coming back no matter what, I think that sends a message to the entire rest of the roster like, you know what? We're going to do it for the A. We're going to stay here. We're going to be loyal, and we're going to finish this thing out. Because I'm telling you, Mike, the thought of them being in the CFP next year as a 12-team tournament and where they could have possibly gone, hell, if they would have made it this year in a 12-team tournament, I think they would have made some noise.
Yeah, I agree.
And you got to look at that and think like, man, we're so close. And you've worked for so long to get to this point. Why give it up at the last minute to go hope that you're going to find some success somewhere else, man? I really hope they don't do that.
Yeah, for sure. Saul, as always, you're my man. Like I said, I've had a lot of good bosses in my life. Nobody better than you, my guy. I appreciate you, boss.
Appreciate you, man. Love you. See ya.
All right, talk to you soon. Saul Bookman right there. All right, now let's join by Anthony Gimino and Jason Shearer. Anthony, who's had to put up with me for over 10 years, and Shearer, who has fired me for not multiple times. You can only fire me once. All right, guys. Anthony Shearer, long time no talk. What are your thoughts now? Because I'm about to make my case for who I think Arizona should hire.
All right. Well, in that case, I'll just jump in and go first. How about that? The more, since we talked last night, the more I thought about it last night, the more I thought about this morning, the more I talked to people around the program, I'm 100% team Johnny Nansen. If only because, we talked a little bit last night. Should the players be involved in making this decision? Usually that answer is kind of a no.
Usually a hard no.
Yeah. In this case, I believe Arizona should 100% be in go for it now mode. 100%. If Johnny Nansen is the guy who can retain Noah, retain T-Mac, keep the core mostly intact, and they can go out and compete and win big next year, go for it now. I don't care about if something happens, if he's not a capable head coach and you have to worry about it and make a decision in 2025, 2026, whatever. Arizona has a rare opportunity to do something super special in 2024, and they should absolutely go for it.
Sure.
Well, I could say that on Jamino's note, there was a players only meeting this morning, just posted it, and you are going to see a coordinated message to hire Johnny Nansen. That was basically all the meeting was about. And there are multiple players. T-Mac was at the meeting, and we'll see if it's true, but there are players that are telling people if Nansen is the guy, they are likely to stay. So if that's the case, it's going to be harder for Dave Hickey and Robbins to not hire Nansen.
And I know that right now the alums are pissed at Jedd. Nansen also very much pleases all the alums who have been a big part of this rebuild in the last few years.
Right, for sure. We need that.
And Mike, if you bring back Johnny Nansen, Dwayne Aquina is not going to go to Texas. Dwayne Aquina will be here.
Yes. And one thing, too, that we also need to look at is that if you bring those guys back, I am totally in on generally the thought of, all right, you don't want to bring in a coach just because a player, just because the coach, all that stuff. I get all that. This is a unique situation, though, at Arizona. This isn't Alabama. This isn't something where, all right, well, don't worry. A coach can you hire the best coach and you take a loss for a year or two, and then you're going to be right back. This is go for broke. You go in 2024, you go for broke, and then and then you revisit it. Maybe you find out Nansen can't coach. Who knows? Or maybe it does work, but I'll tell you one thing. I'd much rather take my chances if Johnny Nansen can coach or not with that roster than taking an unknown or somebody that goes 7-7 everywhere they go.
Yeah, and it's I'm not a fan of keeping everything together just for a year because I don't know if there's any guarantees. Like I mentioned yesterday, like what if Noah and T-Mac get $1 million offer in the spring and they go, you know what, let's just take it. And then you hire Johnny Nansen for what, right? But Jamina makes a good point. Like, let's be honest, no matter what, we're probably doing this again in 3 years for a good reason or a bad reason. So you might as well make your run and see what happens.
Yeah. And there are a lot of quality head coaching candidates out there. Jason, I know you've got the hot board and all that. Most of those people are fine, qualified head coaches who have done good jobs and probably could at Arizona. But this isn't a fantasy team. We're dealing in the real world. We're dealing with people and personalities and relationships. And as I look at it, there's only one guy who makes the most sense in that regard. And that's still going to be Johnny Nansen.
Yeah. And so yes, that just makes it easier for me in this case, because again, it's funny. The last 2 days, I've just kind of become at a loss for everything, but listen, here's what it comes down to for me with Johnny Nansen. Arizona is not a destination school for football. We can be honest here. It's a good spot. but it's not a destination spot. Nobody is saying that, I'm going to go to Arizona and I will never leave because I want to win a national championship at Arizona. That's just not in the cards. But what Arizona does have is they have a very unique opportunity with an absolutely loaded roster next year to be able to compete for a Big 12 championship. And not only do they have that opportunity, let's be honest, some players will leave. I get it. But if Noah Fifita and T-Mac stay at Arizona, there's going to be a lot of players that are going to stay with them as well.
Yeah, I think it's just like when Noah committed for the 2022 class. There's always one guy in the class who leads everybody else and gets everybody else involved. Yeah, if those two decide to stay, I think the vast majority of players will stick around. But does that fit with what you're hearing, Jason?
Yeah, I believe that. Again, I don't know if I believe it, but T-Mac was at that meeting. Noah Fifita was at that meeting. That I know for a fact. And I will say there's another interesting, and I don't know if I could tie two things together, but Dave Hickey had a scheduled meeting with the team this morning and postponed it. And I thought that was very interesting. I mean, maybe they're heavily considering it, and the reason he postponed it is because they're finalizing stuff already. I mean, nothing would surprise me.
That would be a save. And honestly, and let's be honest here, Dwayne Aquina, that's Anthony's guy. And there's really no, most people are Anthony's guys. Let's be honest here. But with Dwayne Aquina, that if you can retain him, you can retain this coaching staff. I feel very comfortable, at least going into next year, having his mind on that defensive staff. If you got Noah Fifita, you got T-Mac, you got a good percentage of that roster coming back. I think the offense takes care of itself. This is something that I think I'm all in on Johnny Nansen. I don't even think, to be honest with you, that there's a close, I can't even really think of a close second if you give the time period and what's going on as it pertains to Arizona football.
Mm-hmm. No, I mean, I want to be clear. If the administration who has worked with Johnny Nansen for multiple years now, if they don't think he's in the range of acceptability as a head coach, they shouldn't hire him. I'm not saying hire him just because he might keep a few dudes around. But if they have a good relationship with him, they think he can do the job, there's no reason to say no. That we can close this deal today.
Yes. And listen, I don't think that I'm really saying I don't think I'm saying anything out of pocket, but they were prepared to they offered Johnny Nansen almost $1 million to be able to stay. So they clearly don't look at him as somebody that is a liability on the staff. They clearly look at him as somebody that was an asset. So, again,
I mean, I see some things in the chat here. It's like, well, why did he just leave then? Well, we know this is a relationship business.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, he had a great past relationship with Sark. I'm just going to leave it there. It's a relationship business. Why would he go elsewhere?
Right. Sheer, are you in? Are you in on hiring Johnny Nansen, Sheer?
I wouldn't hate it. I would hire Nansen over Carroll. Is that good enough?
All right.
I would hire, if you're giving me the coordinator route, I'm 100% hiring Johnny Nansen over Brendan Carroll. Because at least I know Johnny Nansen has called to play before. Brendan Carroll's never called to play. I'm not sure if he's drawn up a play. So, you bring back Aquina, you work with Aquina, you hire a heavy Polynesian staff. They'll always recruit the Polynesians. Every Arizona fans love it. You could do worse than Johnny Nansen. You could do better. Right. You could do worse too.
All right, I'm also going to say something here, and I've had enough people tell me this that I think I'm more than okay that I think it's more than okay saying this, that Johnny Nansen and Jedd Fisch didn't necessarily see eye to eye the way that Sarkisian and Johnny Nansen said. Again, this is, I don't know if somebody's upset with Johnny Nansen for leaving, but a big part of that also is that, he and Fisch just didn't necessarily see eye to eye on a lot of stuff. Then to me, you're kind of speaking out of both sides of your mouth, which I actually excel at, but go ahead.
Well, you know who else that people now love who left Arizona twice? Dwayne Aquina.
Right.
I mean, obviously he was brought in right after Makovic was hired, and that relationship lasted like 2 weeks.
Right.
Before Dwayne left. And then remember when Mike Stoops brought Dwayne back. Mm-hmm. Those two also did not see eye to eye. So Dwayne left soon after being hired, which left Arizona in a tough spot at the time. And then Mike Stoops, gave the DB job to the next person he saw, which happened to be Ryan Walters, which turned out to be a good hire. But nobody is bemoaning Dwayne for leaving a couple times. Everybody loves him now.
Right. And
so why would we apply a different standard for Johnny Nansen?
People keep asking as well. They keep saying, well, hold on. I just Mike McCullough.
The Bruce Feldman thing.
What Feldman say?
They've already started interviewing candidates. I can tell you they interviewed 2 candidates last night. I'm on fire right now, Mike.
Are you want to say who they are?
I'm going to get in trouble for one of them.
Justin Wilcox?
Yeah, they interviewed Wilcox last night.
Okay.
And the other was Brent Brennan.
All right. Justin Will. I don't hate Justin Wilcox as an option because listen, and I realized I was just putting down a coach who was 6-6, basically. Cal's a very difficult place to win at. This is not the Cal that we grew up with. But I will say this. If you wanted to actually bet on this, the only place to go is the BetMGM Sportsbook app. Period. Point blank, period. You agree with this, Anthony Gimino?
I may have partaken a couple times, yes.
Sign up for BetMGM. Use bonus code PHNX. Place your first BetMGM Sportsbook wager through BetMGM Sportsbook mobile app for at least $5. You will receive $158 instantly in additional winnings, regardless of your wager's outcome. Check out the show notes for details. And now let's hear Shane Diefenbach with the disclaimer.
Problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Colorado, D.C., Illinois, Indiana, Kansas, Louisiana, Maryland, Mississippi, New Jersey, Nevada, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, Wyoming. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369 New York. Call 1-800-327-5050 Massachusetts. 21 plus to wager. Please gamble responsibly. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP Arizona. 1-800-BETS-OFF Iowa. 1-800-270-7117 for confidential help Michigan. 1-800-981-0023 Puerto Rico in partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. U.S. promotional offers not available in D.C., New York, or Ontario.
All right, and one other thing, game time. Let's say that you want to be like me and go to games that not like me, but let's say you don't have a media pass and you want to find another way to go to games. Be like everybody else and be a smart person and use Game Time. Sheer, this is true. You know somebody that used Game Time.
Yes, I met a random Oklahoma fan at the Alamo Bowl that said I have this great app, and he pulled up Game Time.
All right, download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code PHNX for $20 off first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code PHNX for $20 off. Download the Game Time app. Last-minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. All right, Justin Wilcox. Cal is an impossible spot to win at. It just is. Everybody always mentions that, it's in a talent hotbed. Cool. You're also with an administration that doesn't care about sports. You're also in a kind of a fan base that, let's be honest, is largely apathetic. Wilcox has a pretty good reputation. He was the first person, I believe, that actually offered Noah Fafita out of high school. Is this not mistaken, Sheer? Am I not mistaken? Didn't he offer before even Fisch? Because he had a Cal and an Arizona offer.
He might have. I don't think. I mean, I can look it up real quick.
Yes.
I don't know. Did he have a Cal offer?
Yeah, definitely had a Cal offer. For sure had a Cal offer.
Tell everyone how pretty you are, and I'll look it up.
All right, yes. But Anthony, you go. What do you think about Justin Wilcox?
Well, I'll tell you what Dick Tomey thought about Justin Wilcox. I remember one time Wilcox was probably in his first or second year at Cal, and occasionally Dick Tomey and I would meet for coffee, and we randomly. We weren't talking about Cal. We weren't talking about Wilcox. He offered what a great job and what a great coach in terms of building culture Justin Wilcox was.
Right.
So based on that, I've always had a very high opinion of Justin Wilcox.
Right. So what do you think, Sheer?
Well, first off, New Mexico, Hawaii, and Cal offered Noah. Cal offered Noah a year before, 6 months before Arizona.
So every now and then I get something right that Sheer can't. Sheer, you were wrong there.
Off the top of my head, I did not remember Noah Fafita's offer list. You are the man.
All right, yes. Listen, also, people need to get this as well. Nansen is cool, but can he actually coach? We don't know. It's just
if you hire a guy like Nansen, more than probably 99% of the coaches you're hearing, his coaching staff is going to be vital. Like, really, I would tell you that he's probably bringing Aquino with him. We'd assume that. I would say Jason Kafusi probably stays, and I think Richardson probably stays. I think the offensive staff would be completely new.
Anthony, do we when it comes to Dwayne, would he be somebody that would he consider? Would he accept a defensive coordinator position? Would that be something that he's game for at this point?
That I don't know. I really can't. Yeah, I wouldn't want to speak for him, and I have no knowledge one way or another whether he'd be interested in being coordinator.
Is there a difference if you bring on Dwayne? Even let's just say it's a secondary coach, right? You hire a young defensive coordinator, and you say you and Dwayne are going to work together. You're going to do all the recruiting. Dwayne's not in the. I mean, he's just whatever. He's not going to recruit a lot. He's not of that age, and that's not his thing right now. It's similar to what we thought Jedd was going to do. I don't think it, and I think it's a winning. If you're going all in the Polynesian route, and Mike, you bring in Robert Bala, like Jedd was anyway, and you bring in Dwayne, and you work together, that's a winning combination to me.
Yeah, I'm not sure the title is hugely important. Just the fact that they're all working together and that Dwayne has a lot of input.
All right. I'm going to stick up. Listen, again, Arizona does not look great in all of this. I get that. But please, 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 people, the budget academic shortfall had nothing to do with Arizona not being able to match this. Arizona was never going to be able to match $55 million. It stinks to stay. It stinks to, well, I guess it stinks to stay in that. It stinks to say, but Arizona just could never match that. First of all, you can only sign 5-year contracts in Arizona. You can't sign a 7-year deal. That's something you got to keep in mind. Arizona was never going to be able to get to $8 million. That just wasn't going to happen. Jason, and I went back and I watched this. When Anthony says you get some real weirdos on Twitter saying this stuff, that cracked me up nonstop because that's generally something I would say. So when Anthony Gimino says that made me laugh. Go ahead, guys.
Arizona's in a budget shortfall. 100%. There's a budget shortfall. They're going to have to fix some things. The AD is getting audited. The school's getting audited, all that. If Arizona was in no budget shortfall, it still wasn't offering as much as Washington. Arizona is never paying a head football coach $56 million over 7 years. It is not happening.
And all right, Cosmic Contrarian, I'm gonna dispute this with you. Hiring for short-term gain is complete lunacy. Normally, I agree with you, but Arizona is also not a long-term position, though. Nobody's coming to Arizona. No, if you're wildly successful at Arizona, you're not going to be here for 10 years. That's just not in the cards.
Every position is a short-term position.
Right.
I think with Arizona fans, they just don't want to see their heart broken again. But I gotta tell you guys, your heart's going to get broken again, or your coach is going to get fired because he's not good enough.
Yes.
If you hire the hot young up-and-coming coach and he's great, guess what? He's also gone 3 years. If you hire somebody that has Arizona ties and he doesn't do well, guess what? He's probably gone in 3 years. Right. You can try to thread that needle. You want another Dick Tomey, maybe, who's going to stay here 14 years. Chances of getting a guy like Kyle Whittingham at Utah, 1 in 200.
Right.
You shouldn't even try for that because you're not going to succeed. If you luck into it, great. But that's not really to aspire for. You're going to be replacing your head coach in good times, bad times, every 3, 4, or 5 years. Everybody does it. Go find a list on the internet about how long coaches have been around.
And I got to believe, too, that Johnny Nansen would want people. And the other thing, too, is that with the University of Texas defensive coordinator position, Johnny Nansen would take the University of Arizona head coaching position. That is called a significant pay raise. That's called a significant increase. That's called a significant everything. So he would 1,000% take that job. It doesn't matter that he's at Texas at this point. Arizona, I can't imagine. Do defensive coordinators even have buyouts?
Yes.
All right. Arizona, even with the budget shortfall,
it's usually just their contract. So, like $1 million buyout, and for all we know, Johnny hasn't even signed the thing. It's not even an exit. I mean, he's on their webpage and all that, but I can't see Sark. Like Sark would be like, take it for free. Like, I'm so happy for you all. Like Sark would tell Johnny Nansen to take this job in a heartbeat.
Yeah, I mean that's So Sheer, yes or no, right now. Can I ask you this? No, Jason. Here's what Jason Shear does when he reports something.
I'm very nervous.
He'll say one of two things. This is likely to happen, but if it doesn't, don't blame me. Jason, we're none of that, no equivocating. Right now, if Johnny Nansen could retain the entire, basically retain 90% of this roster, and Dwayne Aquino hops back in, yes or no, are you hiring him?
Yes. And that is and that is a 24-hour change, because you know my feelings. I would never hire short term, but I feel like I need something binding too. My nightmare is
you hire Nansen and then everyone leaves. Still.
Right. 100%. But you can't bind a player. So
did you report the stuff on Twitter about T-Mac and Noah?
No, we're keeping things on the board. People on Twitter were very mean yesterday. They could sign up to Wildcat Authority for 60% off.
By the way, I had get a load of this. I had 53 Oregon State, Washington State fan DMs messaging me saying, you banter a lot, but you stood up and you took it like a man yesterday, and you have my full respect for that. That's what we're here for. You got to remember this, people. It's still sports at the end of the day. It stinks, but it's still sports at the end of the day. I am here to help. I am here. I will break your hand with my jaw. That's where we're at with all of this. All right, let's talk Brent Brennan. Dick Tomey was a big Brent Brennan guy, right, Jimino?
Right. When Dick went to coach at San Jose State, he hired Brent, and Brent was here in 2000 for a year.
Yeah.
Before they all got fired. So obviously a lot of Tomey, a lot of Arizona DNA running through that family. What do you think? I don't know him. I know he's well respected by the alums. You look at his record at San Jose State and you're absolutely not going to get blown away. But San Jose State is one of the most difficult jobs in the country.
Right.
So when you start going repeated years of 7-5, 7-6 at San Jose State, that's really something to be proud of. So yeah, do I think the dude can coach? Personally, I don't know him, so I can't speak to that aspect of it. But obviously, he's very well liked. And if you're looking for a candidate who would stay here for the rest of his career, that's probably the guy if he has enough success.
Sheer, what do you think? He does. To me, he's very just kind of is there.
I think he's the safest hire in the sense where he's going to go 7-5, and that's probably you're going to probably make a bowl, but I don't know how much better you're going to be than 7-5. Me personally, I don't know. I don't like speaking out against a coach because they could wind up being someone I work with, but I think he's very vanilla to me. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. I wonder what the upside of a Brennan is. I just wonder how good can he be. And I'll tell you, everyone speaks very highly of him. Recruiting guys, and everyone I've talked to speak very high about Brent Brennan. It's just, to me, it's kind of boring, I guess.
Yeah. All right, now
did we think that about Jedd Fisch too when he was hired?
No, I thought the opposite. I thought that was nuts.
Yes, I did too. I thought it was a crazy hire. I didn't know exactly.
But in terms of the upside, I mean, what would you have said about Jedd Fisch?
Oh, no upside
3 years ago.
I thought there was no upside. I thought he'd be out of here in 3 years.
Literally zero upside.
Yeah. My point is, and I totally agree with everything Jason said. It does seem like a very vanilla hire, but with limited upside. But what do we know?
All right. By the way,
that's my point.
Here, stop with the Brennan stuff. Duke Brennan. If Duke Brennan was related to Brent Brennan, I would absolutely be more intrigued by it. He's related to. It's Brad Brennan's brother, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Brad Brennan, by the way, if I was a football player, I would have been Brad Brennan without the broken ankle. But,
and look, his defensive coordinator's family still lives in Tucson. He wants, and Jamina makes, if fans are very focused on the candidate that is the most likely to stay here, that is Brennan. I think if Brennan gets Arizona, he's here for as long as he's successful.
Do you think he's got some Dilly in him?
I think he's the complete opposite of Dylan. But in terms of staying,
Yeah.
yes, I honestly, and I don't say this, and I'm very careful to say this anymore. I don't see him leaving Tucson. He's got family here. His defensive coordinator, who would likely come, has family here, alumni, all that. He would be here. If that's what you're looking for, out of all the candidates, he would be here the longest.
Yes. All right. Now, also one thing, you might have been watching the game, or you might have been watching this yesterday and say, by the way, I had no clue how bad I looked at the end of that live stream until I went back and I looked at it. Holy moly, man!
That was sad. That was sad, Mike Luke.
That was sad. And generally with me, you're going to get happy-go-lucky, mocking myself, all of that. I was just kind of like, the video just still whatever. But
can we get the PHNX graphic people to do a sad Mike Luke meme?
Hey, that's actually not a bad. That's
What
actually not
I need.
a bad
I
idea.
need a sad Mike Luke meme.
Jacob
It
Franklin.
got real ugly. It got real ugly at the end of that thing.
Jacob Franklin, are you able to do this? Oh, all right. Well, either ways, have I told you about the Gila River Resorts and Casinos, Anthony Gimino?
Oh, I've heard plenty. I'd
All
like
right,
to
let me
hear
tell you
more.
Of course, you want to hear more. You do you at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Visit playathila.com for more details. Again, at Gila River Resorts and Casinos, no one does it better. They offer an authentic and immersive experience. I've seen it. It sticks out like the wave. It looks very, very cool, the wave. It looks awesome. Again, Gila River Resorts and Casinos. All right. Now, somebody said no commercials yesterday. Well, I mean, we still got to get paid somehow here. My parents aren't giving me money anymore. They basically cut me off this last month. So, Audrey Stevens thought we had to do a welfare check on Luke after the beer picture and no tweets for a few hours. Yeah, I didn't even go to Del Taco yesterday either. So, and you're right, Anthony. Panda was so depressing. I didn't even eat all of it.
Shelby and I almost stopped by last night to check on you.
Oh gosh, I had no clue. But either way, also OGs helped me out yesterday. OGs is here for you. It's here for me. It's here for everybody. Check it out, OGs. To learn more about OGs gummies and where you can find them, head on over to ogsbrands.com. OGs. Again, you got the fruits, the creams available, all of this stuff. All right, now back to Arizona. This, in my opinion, this has to be decided in the next 48 hours. Again, when we're at this stage in the game, you have to be able to, and by the way, I'm okay, everybody. Thank you. But Oregon State and Washington State fan DMs got me through yesterday. This has to be decided in the next 48 hours. This every school moves in this manner now. It's an AD's job to have a list of people. You got to be able to move. This can't be something where you wait a month.
I think in an ideal world, and I hate this crap, but I think in an ideal world, you bring him out to the basketball game on Wednesday. I think that you have your hire completed, you bring him, he kisses babies and all that Wednesday, and you hold a presser on Thursday. I think that's the ideal situation.
What say you, Anthony?
Oh, yeah, no, that's a great timeline. And obviously they're already moving. So yeah, you have to. We're now like on a every 2-day timetable.
Right.
Somebody gets hired, another coach gets poached from somewhere else. They hire somebody in 2 days. So yeah, Arizona is very much on the clock and has another about 36 hours to get it done.
All right. Now I'll say, so we're all in agreement here. Yay or nay, Johnny Nansen, if he retains the roster, we're all in agreement, correct?
With caveats, yeah.
No, there is no caveat. I just said he's got to keep the roster, but yes.
Yeah, but how do you know he's keeping the roster?
Right, that's the thing.
I mean, no, I totally get that. And he could have discussions with the players, and the players are saying, yeah, we're going to stay. Yeah, there's also a spring transfer window that opens up April 15th.
Right.
Yeah, there's no guarantees with any of this. So my point from the top was, if I'm going to quote Mike Leach, swing your sword. Take your chance right now. Arizona has a chance to do something it has rarely done in the last ever, which is, well, of course, with the expanded opportunity in the playoffs, they have a chance to do that next year.
Right.
I'm taking, I don't care if it's short-sighted. If Arizona has a chance to do that and retain most of its players, hire Johnny Nansen, win as big as you can next year, maybe go to the playoffs, and then everything is easier.
Right.
You know, why if you're bringing in a new coach, maybe he loses most of the roster. They're going to go 6-6. He's got a tough road ahead. A lot easier if Arizona's going 10-3 or whatever next year.
Who are Sheer? Jimino and I would hire Robert Nansen. I think that was the FBI spy for Russia. Never mind, Johnny Nansen.
I'm very disappointed you've already dropped the Pete Carroll thing. I mean, that took like 20 minutes, Mike.
Pete's not returning my calls. I don't know what else to say. But he's just not. I don't know that Pete's interested. But I do like that. I will say this. My second choice would be Justin Wilcox. I think he's got higher upside than Brent Brennan. I think that he's well thought of. I think he's a good dude. I meant to ask you this year, and I know California is a tough place. He's got a pretty good recruiting reputation as well, correct?
For Cal, yeah. I mean, I think if you brought him to a place like in Arizona, he probably would compete for top 30 classes, which is good.
For sure. Okay. All right. Jacob, do you want to hop in here real quick? Hop in, Jacob Franklin. Hop in. We're bringing Jacob in.
By the way, I saw Wavy Davy say it as Jacob drops in. The Texas State coach would be my number one guy.
Okay.
I like that too. And I was doing a little more reading on him last night, and I knew he had done well, but at Texas State in his first year. But his stuff at Incarnate Word and up and comer, yeah. If you want to hire the hot young offensive minded coach, that's the guy. And if he leaves in 3 years, God bless him. That means he will have done well here.
Yeah.
All right. Jake,
I'm totally on board with that too.
All right. Jacob is a reliable father, and we're just bringing him in, but he doesn't need to say anything because obviously the kid is sleeping. But Jacob, we just want to show that you're here. Hello, this is the man that makes it work, and Jacob has been very well. Jacob's always kind. All right, Jacob, you're removed.
Jacob, you know what I did?
Hold on. Actually, I'm bringing Jacob back in. Sorry.
When Jedd Fisch left yesterday, I told my kids to get out of the house. They're both sleeping over at a friend's. One day you'll get to the age, Jacob, where you can basically say, I don't want to be around you right now. Find a friend to go to.
Your mental health was that bad, Sheer?
Just wait. Yeah. Is it a girl or a boy?
Terrible.
It's a girl.
Oh, yeah. Good luck.
Yeah. But Jacob Franklin has family from Nebraska, by the way.
Oh, well, then he's fine.
So how have we not mentioned the potential of Scott Frost on this call?
Oh, Mike and I talked about Scott Frost for about 20 minutes last night.
Yeah.
All right, here's where I'm at with Scott Frost. I am okay. Scott.
Did you tell Jimino about the exercise we did? That was a good one.
Oh, the best coach, the
best bad coach that you could hire. And we came up with Scott Frost, Bo Pelini,
and Rich Rod.
Which one would you hire of the three?
Which would you hire, Anthony?
I'm hiring a retread like that. I'm going with Scott.
Yes, because I watched every single Scott Frost game. I'll say this: it did feel to a certain extent like he was a little snake bit for whatever reason, because it didn't matter. You could have been playing Michigan and you were going to lose by 3 off like a butt fumble into the end zone, or you were going to play Rutgers and you were going to lose by 3 off a kick 6 return for a touchdown or something. It was the most bizarre thing. I still think he's got some upside. He's young. He's living in Arizona. He did a great job. I mean, he had a really good reputation as an OC. I don't hate that. I'll put it to you like that. I don't hate that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't hate it. It would be funny.
Who would your choice be between Scott Frost, Bo Pelini, and
is there a more opposite personality than going from Jedd Fisch to Bo Pelini? They're the complete opposites, right? Like there's literally no similarities.
It's funny. I watched a Tom Osborne interview one time about Bo Pelini, and they said, well, he won 9 or 10 games every single season, and nobody's really given him a look. And Osborne, in this very Dr. Tom Osborne, said, well, there's also some things that kind of come with Bo. And and it was just the funniest way of putting it.
Obviously I have a soft spot for Rich Rod. I'd hire Bo Pelini over Scott Frost. I wouldn't hire any of them. I mean,
all right. On that note, everybody out there, we really, really appreciate you. I'm doing much, much better today, but a big reason for that is Jacob Franklin behind the scenes, making everything better. Anthony Gimino, the man, we appreciate you on your off day from the real job. Jason Shearer, you will be back with me tomorrow. You're probably going to be on with me all week.
I have a dentist tomorrow.
At what time?
Maybe 9.
What kind of dentist appointment?
Oh, it's not a good one. We'll play by ear. All
right, we'll play it by ear. Either way, we're going to make it work. But on that note, appreciate you all. No better time to become a PHNX diehard. Hey, Jacob Franklin, pull this shirt up, please. These shirts are going like hotcakes. Check them out. These things, Anthony Gimino has one of these. Anthony Gimino has turned this into a sleeveless workout edition. So when you see Anthony Gimino at LA Fitness and this BTFD, you know that this thing is taking off. A lot of people don't know that, but that's kind of where we're at. You agree with this, Anthony?
It's a beautiful shirt, and I can kind of halfway rock it to make it look decent. But better people than I can make that shirt look really good.
All right. On that note, though, we will be back. And again, emergency live streams man, that sounds awful. An emergency live stream. But we will be in touch with you throughout the day. You guys are all fantastic. And again, appreciate all of you. Back Anthony Gimino. We actually like him. Jason Shearer. I am merely Mike Luke. And we have the great Jacob Franklin making us good. You've been listening to the AZ Wildcats podcast.
We all silly like the mayor.